It's Thursday, August 10. In the headlines, in local news, upgrades coming soon to the Manley International Airport. In business news, gas prices down by 25 cents. Regionally, anticipation, excitement builds for Antigua's flight to space. Internationally, U.S. President Joe Biden orders a limit on U.S. investment in Chinese tech. And in sports, Jamaica versus Honduras in Concacaf Under 15 Championships. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. High school leavers aged 17 and over can now apply for the government's Learning and Investment for Transformation LIFT program. Applications open today on the Heart NSTA Trust's website. The internship initiative was launched at this week's post-cabinet press brief. Managing Director of the Heart Trust NSTA, Dr. Tanisha Ingleton, gave the details about the program. She explained that successful applicants will go through a three-phased process, which includes rigorous recruitment and orientation exercises, which will determine their competencies and where they're best placed.
To enhance their employability skills, we will train them in financial literacy and digital literacy throughout that process of orientation. And then there is the engagement period, which is 8 weeks. So we will take them through 8 weeks skills training. And in this particular phase, we will help them to open bank accounts. We will help them to get their tax registration number.
Dr. Ingleton said the exciting aspect of the initiative is the opportunity for internship.
And so our young people will be getting $85,000 monthly. That, Minister, is a part of poverty alleviation. This is $85,000 monthly, $70,000 in hand, and $15,000 will be placed in their bank accounts that they will not be able to access until they complete the program. And this is important because we want to teach our young people how to save.
Dr. Ingleton said the trust employs a 70-20-10 model to ensure that the trainees get full experience.
Essentially, it's experiential learning. So whilst there are the pieces for the theory, we do focus a lot on the experience. So we're looking at essentially a 70-20-10 model, where 70% is on the actual experience, the on-the-job training. 20% would be the core theory of the course, and then 10% would be that collaboration between you and your teammates, industry partners, that experience that you would get communicating with individuals within and outside the course.
She notes that to be eligible for the program, applicants must be 17 years or older with a high school leaving certificate and graduated from high school within the last year.
And of course, you must demonstrate a financial need. This is important. Minister spoke about poverty alleviation. So we want to ensure that our most vulnerable, the individuals who need it the most, are the ones who get the opportunity to participate.
Being rolled out at a cost of over $2 billion, the program is a collaboration between the Office of the Prime Minister through the Heart NSTA Trust and the Ministry of Education and Youth. Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport, Daryl Vaz, met with PAC Kingston, the operators of the Manley International Airport in Kingston, recently to discuss upgrading the facility. Minister Vaz toured the facility following the meeting and told the press that he has been assured that several issues will be addressed in short order in terms of the upgrading of the facility to increase customer satisfaction.
I have seen some significant improvements in the plant, and I've had discussions in relation to some of the other things that are going to be addressed in short order. What I will get from PACAL coming out of this meeting is a short, medium, and long-term plan in terms of the upgrading of the facility. We are very aware that the facility is an old facility.
There have been reports of several issues affecting staff and clients. He says short-term plans are already in place.
There's an issue in terms of some of the supply chain, which I understand, but at the end of the day, as I said before, there has to be a comfort level for the passengers. So we have some short-term plans to make the place more comfortable during the longer-term plan for the equipment upgrades, etc. And I'm satisfied that that is on track.
Minister Vaz also gave an update on the renegotiation of the airport concession agreement with PAC Kingston, which is a subsidiary created by Pacific Airport Group of Mexico.
That we have received confirmation from PACAL, which now will go back to Cabinet, and once approved by Cabinet, will allow for PACAL now to start their investment program in terms of the extension of the runway and the other things that are in that concession agreement, which of course COVID has thrown off. So I think we're at a good place in terms of being able for PACAL to have the renegotiated arrangement in place, and then they will be able now to make sure that they live up to the expectations and the arrangements in that concession agreement.
Motorists with electronic vehicles will soon have more options to recharge across the island. This as the Jamaica Public Service says it will be installing 12 new electric vehicle charging stations across the island by year end, as the company continues to build out the infrastructure to support the growth of the EV sector. Senior Vice President of Generation, Joseph Williams, says the company's vision of an EV charging station within 30 kilometers of anywhere a motorist may be is unfolding. He says they have completed the first phase of their plan with the construction of 10 charging stations across the parishes of Kingston and St. Andrew, St. James, St. Anne, Clarendon, Westmoreland and Portland. The government is intensifying measures to combat predial larceny with a special police task force to be put in place. While addressing the 69th Demby Agricultural, Industrial and Food Show at the Demby Showground in Clarendon on the weekend, Prime Minister Andrew Holness noted that legislation is in place for the establishment of a special task force.
One thing that we must conquer in Jamaica is this business of predial larceny. At its core, it is reprehensible that someone should reap where they did not sow, that someone should benefit from your labor when they did not toil. And as I pointed out to some farmers today when we were discussing the issue, oftentimes it is people that are close to us, who we know, who can enter your yard without your dogs barking.
As it relates to access to irrigation, Mr. Holness says the St. Elizabeth-based Pedro Plains irrigation scheme will shortly come on stream.
The government is committed. So we are now going to do the Pedro Plains irrigation project. So we have done the Southern Plains, Essex Valley is being done. The next one is going to be the Pedro Plains. And that is going to move us steadily towards our goal of irrigating our arable lands.
Approximately $300 million has been budgeted for the irrigation scheme, which will see water being lifted from Black River to the Pedro Plains of southern St. Elizabeth. Time now for the business report with Danita Rodney.
Motorists will see a decrease at the pumps in the price of gasoline and an increase in the price of diesel effective Thursday, August 10, according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. With both grades of gasoline down by 25 cents, 87 octane will sell for $179.70 per liter, while 90 octane will sell for $184.21 per liter. Automotive diesel fuel will sell for $175.53 per liter, and ultra-low sulfur diesel will sell for $183.64 per liter after an increase of $4.50. And the kerosene increased by $3.06 will sell for $181.28 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will sell for $64.94 per liter, up by 89 cents, and butane liquid petroleum will sell for $73.03 per liter after an increase of $1.15. Remember that marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to these prices. The private sector organization of Jamaica, PBCJ, has launched its Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises Research Hub. The hub is a collaborative effort between the JMB Group SME Resource Center and the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, and is aimed at addressing the challenges SMEs face and provide support and resources to help them in today's dynamic business environment. Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, August 9, the US dollar sold for an average of $155.56. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $115.82. The pound sterling traded for $197.37, and the euro sold for $168.58. In JSE trading, the JSE index declined by over 647 points. The junior market index advanced by over 31 points. The combined market index declined by over 312 points. And the All-Jamaican Composite Index declined by over 1,551 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 111 stocks, of which 38 advanced, 52 declined, and 21 traded firm. Stocks advanced for Barita Investments Limited, Cargo Handlers Limited, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and the Caribbean Cement Company Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Verbal Preference, Access Financial Services Limited, and the AMG Packaging and the Paper Company Limited. The overall volume leaders were Mailpack Group Limited with over 16 million units, JMB Group Limited 7.35%, cumulative redeemable preference shares with over 5 million units, and Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 3 million units. In regional stocks, on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, 0 securities traded. On the Barbudas Stock Exchange, Goddard Enterprises Limited was the volume leader with 1,020 shares. They were followed by First Caribbean International Bank, which traded 172 shares. In regional business, Guyana and the Dominican Republic will majorly benefit from each other, as the two countries have signed 6 agreements. More in this report.
President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali delivered a keynote address at the signing in the Dominican Republic. Several of the MOUs are within the oil and gas industry, including the establishment of an oil refinery, the establishment of a petrochemical plant, and a study for participation in Guyana's oil exploration block.
These MOUs that we signed today will be positioning us as two countries, demonstrating our collective resolve in addressing some of the major crises our region and the world is facing today: the food crisis, the energy crisis, and the climate crisis. So these MOUs position us very strategically as two countries in this region. Our local private sector will benefit enormously from this because they will get access to capital, technology, knowledge. They get access to a big market, a huge market.
With the signing of these MOUs, a number of high-value jobs are expected to be created for Guyanese. The head of state noted that Guyana is eyeing the exportation of its aquaculture products to the Dominican Republic. Further, Dr. Ali stated that Guyana will not limit its participation with the country, as they are looking to collaborate on other areas as well.
In international business, U.S. stocks closed lower ahead of consumer price index inflation data that could influence Federal Reserve interest rate decisions.
The Dow shed about 0.5%, the S&P 500 lost 0.7%, and the Nasdaq dropped nearly 1.2%. The Consumer Price Index report for July, due on Thursday, is expected to show a slight acceleration in the annual inflation rate. On a month-to-month basis, consumer prices are seen increasing 0.2%, the same as in June. But it's the core CPI, which strips out volatile food and energy prices, that investors will be focused on, says Eric Lynch, managing director at Scharf Investments.
What we're looking at really are the wage pressures that have been kind of really continuing to nag at the economy, at margins rather this year. UPS released yesterday and brought down guidance a lot, margin guidance by about 100 bips, largely because of the new Teamsters contract deal that they inked. And so this wage pressure looks like it's continuing, and that's what investors will be keying on. It's likely that the core CPI will remain elevated in 4.5% range, maybe a little bit higher.
Among individual movers, shares of Disney, which dipped at the close, rose more than 1% in after-hours trading after the entertainment giant said it was on track to cut costs by more than $5.5 billion, a promise it made to investors back in February. And speaking of Disney, the new online betting venture between its ESPN network and casino owner Penn Entertainment sent Penn's shares surging more than 9%. And Lyft shares tumbled 10% despite a strong earnings forecast as the company signaled it would double down on competitive pricing to catch up with rival Uber.
In market data for oil prices stabilized with Brent crude holding close to January highs. Brent crude was down 23 cents to $87.32 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude was down 37 cents at $84.03. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, former Bahamian Prime Minister Perry Christie is defending the government's decision to send Bahamian officers to Haiti. More from our news.
He says while opinions are mixed when it comes to international boots on the ground, security is imperative in handling the situation in Haiti. As a member of CARICOM's Eminent Persons Group, Christie says those conversations are ongoing with the Secretary General of the United Nations.
There's always disagreement in any country as to whether there should be boots on the ground, whether there should be foreign soldiers in. And most certainly, CARICOM has now welcomed the commitment of Kenya, the Bahamas, and Jamaica, and the others who are agreeing to contribute security forces there. And the idea is that they would come and work within the context of the National Police Force and be a complementary group as opposed to a group driving security. So we have to wait. The Security Council has given the Secretary General 30 days to report back.
Christie emphasizes that the intention behind having international troops in the area is important to understand. He says the plan would likely have them being supplementary to ongoing training exercises.
My sense is that the intention of providing a secure force to assist the Haitians down there, because there's a very dynamic training program going on, assisted by the Americans and the Canadians, in providing a whole new cadre of police officers. And any contingent from the Bahamas or Jamaica or CARICOM countries joining those from Africa would just be supplementary to what's happening down there. And really the intention is to bring in an environment that will enable them to have free and fair elections.
Antigua and Barbuda is on the verge of a historic and momentous occasion as Keisha Shahaf and her daughter Anastasia Mayers are getting set to take flight to space on Thursday. Kim Emmanuel Baird has a preview of the national pride this will engender and the international spotlight on the Twin Island state.
This mother-daughter duo is the first from the Caribbean to travel to space and are the first astronauts from the Twin Island state. Their amazing experience is again turning major international spotlight on Antigua and Barbuda. Keisha Shahaf and her daughter Anastasia Myers will blast off from Spaceport America in New Mexico in the United States, on board Virgin Galactic's second commercial flight to space. Chief Executive Officer at the Antigua and Barbuda Tourism Authority, Colin James, tells us how this once-in-a-lifetime adventure arose for this lucky duo.
Keisha and her daughter were on a Virgin Atlantic flight to the UK, and there was this competition that, for people who wanted to go into space, because this is the first private astronaut mission where people are going up. So it's another first day. So they filled out this form, or they got online and they entered this competition. And then they were told they were in the top 20, then the top 5. And then one day she woke up, and as you just played in that clip, Sir Richard Branson was knocking on her door telling her that she had won that competition.
With the recently concluded Carnival celebrations, this event presents an opportunity to exhibit the country's greatest summer festival during a watch party to be held on Thursday 10th at the Antigua Recreation Grounds and in Barbuda at the Holy Trinity School starting at 9 a.m. Residents can witness the launch and cheer for Shahaf and Myers, along with Virgin Galactic's founder, Sir Richard Branson, who will be here in Antigua to support the mother-daughter team. Special Projects and Events Manager at the Antigua and Barbuda Tourism Authority, Shemaine Jeremy, tells us what to expect at the watch party.
We are also going to have performances. Some of your favorite performances are coming back to the stage tomorrow as well. So come early, come early. We're going to have flags for everyone, because once we start to air live on our international networks, we want to make sure that Antigua and Barbuda is up front and center.
The authority encourages residents to come out and support Keisha and Anastasia while they make history. For ABS News, this is Kim Emmanuel Beard.
In a press conference held on Wednesday, Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert, told journalists that inheritance tax will never be implemented under the current administration. Ayanna Carter has more.
Minister of Finance Colm Imbert called the opposition's continued claims of the administration's intention to implement a 25% inheritance tax as fiction. The minister referred to a billboard in Tarouba erected by the United National Congress, which talks about the tax. Minister Imbert, reading from the Ernst & Young Worldwide Estate and Inheritance Tax Guide, noted that all major auditing firms publish similar guides.
In this document, it will tell you all the countries in the world that have inheritance tax and estate tax, a wealth tax, and so on. It's the 2023 guide. Trinidad and Tobago is not in there. Trinidad and Tobago will never be in there. There will never be an inheritance tax in Trinidad and Tobago under this government. I just don't understand why this thing just keeps recurring like a bad penny.
Further, the finance minister also sought to debunk another opposition leader claim on the standing of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund.
But that was 1 year ago. Now, 1 year later, I want to repeat. The HSF is $5.6 billion. It is more than it was when we came into office in 2015. It has not lost a penny between last year and this year. It has recovered all of its value.
Minister Imbert said the HSF is in good standing and that allegations that the fund has investments in NCB Jamaica, Guardian Holdings and or any affiliates are false. He said this has been confirmed by the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago.
And they went on to say something that people should know. That's why these statements by the opposition leader are so mischievous. These entities are not eligible for investment under the fund's investment framework.
Ayanna Carter, TTT News.
In international news, U.S. President Joe Biden on Wednesday signed an executive order that will narrowly prohibit certain United States investments in sensitive technology in China and require government notification of funding in other tech sectors.
I'm paying attention.
U.S. President Joe Biden signed an executive order banning certain U.S. investments in sensitive technology in China on Wednesday, a move that risks fueling tensions between the world's two largest economies after the White House has tried to stabilize ties with Beijing. The investment ban focuses on semiconductors, quantum tech, and artificial intelligence, areas where the US, Japan, and the Netherlands have dominated and where China has worked to develop homegrown alternatives. The order aims to stem the flow of US capital to tech like that, which could also boost China's military modernization. Biden sent a letter to Congress declaring a national emergency over the issue, and hours earlier spoke to an audience in New Mexico emphasizing domestic investment.
We're continuing to make progress in fixing the supply chain. For example, we couldn't access semiconductors during the pandemic because the factories making them overseas were shut down. You all know semiconductors are those little small computer chips about the size of any fingertip that affect nearly everything in our lives.
It may take many months before Biden's order comes into effect, possibly not enacted until well into 2024, a presidential election year. The White House said Biden consulted allies on the plan and incorporated feedback from Group of 7 nations. The administration also said the controls will apply to narrow subsets of the 3 areas and they will not be retroactive. The Treasury issued an advance notice on the rules, saying some deals would be banned once the regulations kick in, and investors must notify the government of their plans on others. The restrictions will also apply to Hong Kong and Macau, both separate customs territories from China. China on Thursday said it is gravely concerned about the order. A Commerce Ministry statement criticized Washington of, quote, artificially hindering global economic and trade exchanges and cooperation or set up obstacles for the recovery of the world economy. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said it lodged solemn representations with the US. It said the country was strongly dissatisfied with and resolutely opposes the US's insistence on introducing investment restrictions on China.
In sports, we're on the field with news from the Concacaf Under-15 Championship now underway in the Dominican Republic. Jamaica's Under-15 Reggae Boys will face off against Honduras on Thursday at 1 p.m. Honduras finished atop Group D with 5 points and is unbeaten after 3 matches. The Reggae Boys won their first 2 group matches, beating El Salvador 1-0 and Saudi Arabia 4-1. The boys conceded a last-minute goal from Mexico to suffer their first defeat in Group A of the championship on Wednesday. It was a second straight defeat for Trinidad and Tobago's Under-15 boys at the Concacaf Championship on Tuesday night.
2-1 in favor of Puerto Rico was the final score at the Felix Sanchez Stadium in Santo Domingo, which meant a second successive defeat for Trinidad and Tobago at the Concacaf Boys Under-15 Championship. Puerto Rico got on the board as early as the 10th minute through Diego Echeverria. That held until the break, and in the 53rd minute, Jonathan Mason equalized for TNT, but Echeverria, who plays for FC Dallas in the MLS, secured the winner for Puerto Rico in the 64th. Trinidad and Tobago head coach Sean Cooper lamented some of the referee's decisions.
They were gutted by some of the decisions made by the Canadian referee. A straight red card was a very bitter pill to swallow at that point in time where we were going for the equalizer.
With most of the players on opposing teams already competing at a high level, the coach advocated that our under-15s be exposed to play outside the region sooner.
In looking at the team sheets of both games we played, Honduras and Puerto Rico, you will see that the boys from those teams are playing at a very high level in relation to our boys. So you could see the footballing knowledge, the IQ, at key moments where it will tell. So, the only thing we could hope now to equalize this situation is giving our boys more international exposure.
We in Cunningham, TDT Sport.
And that's the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Remember, we are the People's Station.